And I think it's hard to try to get people to say, oh, I'm on the other side of this. And maybe they want to move closer to, to you. But if you're not welcoming, if there's no means for them to safely do that, then what are they trying to jettison away from a space where they do have social cohesion into a space where they're judged and hated because of where they came from and the headspace that they came from, the ignorance that they had, or the things that they've done? So, I just think that if you want to really be a safe space for people, then you have to practice being a safe space for people. And that doesn't mean taking our eye off the ball. It means managing how, the way we win matters. So managing how we come to the table with each other, both with the people who you feel are on your side about things and with the people who aren't. And so if we stop with this tearing each other down business and we shift to something that's more like a call-in culture, if you see somebody behaving poorly or you see somebody that's like oppressing someone or whatever, then there are ways that we can be calling each other in. Sometimes you don't have the power or the leverage to do that, but sometimes you do. And calling somebody out in public, we now know from the social sciences, we know that publicly shaming people and stuff like that doesn't have long-term beneficial effects. So let's stop trying to use that technique. You don't like it when Trump uses it, don't do it too. It's a bad technique. That's why we don't like it. It feels good in the moment because you get that righteous indignation. Yep. And then now we're back where we were before, except you've just done another slap in the face. Oh, now we didn't turn the cheek. Now we didn't change up anything. We just keep fighting. And so I don't know that mentality is going to get anything more done than more fighting. And I think that to wrap it up here, I think, because again, you can go all day with this. I could do a whole other video on the conservative thing. This one's actually a little bit longer than the conservative one was because I feel like I have more to say to this group. I have more experience talking with this group. And so, finally, for people who have a very different frame of reference and very different social pressures than you might, and very different just perceptions and backgrounds and fears and cultural context and everything. It's so sophisticated. So each human being is an entire universe in and of themselves, right? So, to such a person to look at this from the outside and you see Trump, this, like, he's like a dumb mob boss. The guy, like, what are we doing here, right? And, like, even when I was a kid, like, this guy, no one ever would have taken this guy seriously as a leader. Who wants that? Like, nobody wants to feature that kind of, like, I don't want a leader to be this egomaniacal, selfish, backstabbing, petty, like, what? It's fun for, entertainment, like if you're a villain in a movie, right? But that's not, you don't want that person driving your government. I want my government to be boring and reliable. And on the other side of the coin, you got a guy like Biden who's just like, yeah, we're going to sell us some missiles. We're selling, oh my God, look how much money we're making selling missiles for a genocide. And he's like gleeful about it. And you guys are just like, I know, we got to get this guy. It's like, okay, well, maybe we got to say, okay, well, from somebody who's sitting on the outside, these two don't look all that different. The one guy seems to be bent on destroying, our ability to just be humans in our own country. And the other one is just like, nah, man, the establishment's fine. Let's go ahead and keep selling weapons to these people. It doesn't matter. And if you want to try to say something about it, then we're going to be violent with you. And that brings me to the final point, which is if y'all feel like you're progressive or liberal, you can't be supporting this business of like I said earlier, it can't be about locking people up, which means we can't be funding all that. We can't lionize, police and stuff like that. You can't do that because, like, Bill Clinton militarizes the police just for, George Bush to turn around and use them, and Obama to use them on Occupy Wall Street, like, what are we doing here, folks? Like, so we want to show that we're tough on crime to get the vote. Like, no, dude, tough on crime is stupid. It's stupid. So if you want people to pick you, you got to bring something better than Biden. You got to bring something better than the same old police. You got to bring something better than the Republicans, but branded blue. You got to have a different vibe. You have to be actively including and elevating voices outside of your own. Like, Biden could just have stepped down. There's a consent thing there, right? Like, if you really want to get people, so like, if people are like, no, we don't want Biden to run, and Biden and his team were to acknowledge that there is not consent. His base, his people, don't consent to him running for president. They want somebody different. And so if he were truly a responsive leader, if it were truly a responsive movement, then he would step down and say, all right, cool, well, who do you think is better? But there's not even a discussion of that. And if you're not acknowledging that he's detached from the wants of the people, just like Trump is, like, then so it's like, then you're not acknowledging that these things are far more, Trump and Biden are far more similar than you'd like them to be, right? And so when it gets down to it, for my money, I think, all that Trump noise, I don't want any of that. And best case scenario, if we go with the guy who isn't trying to do a coup, then he and everything he's about, Biden and everything he's about, has got to be moved on from as well, immediately. And we got to start thinking about the fact that we've had a long time to get this sorted out, and the best that we could come up with is Trump and Biden. That means that our system is just forcing that, and we're not dealing with the fact that there's a system here that keeps getting the same result, and we can talk all day and be right about this point and that point, but we're not fixing the system because it keeps producing the same result. So let's be honest about that. Let's be honest about performative, allyship. Stuff that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was talking about when he was writing from that jail in, I think it was Alabama? Might have been Georgia. Might have been Mississippi. Frankly, they were all treating people pretty awfully then, just like they are now. Regardless, he was talking about people who consider themselves to be moderate liberals. Moderates. And he was talking about how it's like, without intending to do any harm, by just refusing to move out of this space of blame and anger and move into a more elevated space of structural problem solving, and what we're seeing right now with the Project 2025 thing is what happens when we fail to come together over the important things, and we're always busy trying to point fingers. Now, meanwhile, these other people who have these very distorted and warped motivations have come together consistently over and over and over again with a shared goal. And if you want to get something like a prominent result, you're going to have to be able to find what matters and only focus on that for now. And what matters is cohesion. We have to be kind with one another. We have to be candid with one another. We have to be kind and candid with ourselves. And we got to start listening far more than we're telling people what to do. And if you want the world to get better, if you want people to pick your side, pick what you're doing, you got to earn it by having it be real. It can't be performatively good and then doing a genocide in the background. That's part of what people like about Trump, is that at least he's a criminal to your face. Right? For people who feel like they're lied to everywhere they turn, that feels like a better choice than a guy who's smiling to you but allowing awful things to happen and perpetuating it. You know what I mean? But telling you he's the nice, good guy who cares. So from where I'm sitting, obviously I've been clear about my position on this stuff, but let's be real about it. Let's be real about what do we look like from the outside. So if you're about calling culture instead of calling people out, if you're willing to, accept people and their humanity, regardless of their origin, and you're willing to acknowledge that despite the very best of intentions and the best efforts, the system keeps producing the same result, So you can't be blindly supporting the system. You can't chastise people for being disenfranchised with the system, whether they're conservatives or whether they're liberals or whatever. Like, you have to have, you got, like, what are we doing? Like, we try to say we're anti-bullying, but everything we do is bullying. We bully each other over stuff on the internet. We bully each other in the courtroom. We bully each other with police. We bully each other all the time. And it's easy to do. It's one thing to think we don't want bullying. It's a whole different thing to carry an energy of not bullying each other while we're dealing with complicated, difficult, painful problems. And that's why it's a big level up in consciousness. This is an invitation for you to, with compassion and focus, decide who you want to be in this world. Not to the people who see you, not to the people who like you, not the people who you believe are the ones who will receive you, but who do you want to be in this world? And who do we want to be in this world? And if it sounds nice, but still looks ugly, then that's not it. So, that's what I got, y'all. I want to see everybody succeed. I want to see everybody be happy and healthy. I think we can do it if we all work together. And if you got more thoughts, by all means, feel free to share them. I guess we'll see you out there. Take care, y'all.